A needed win for the Bulls. It wasn't pretty at times. The Bulls overall were more sloppy than usual for a team that leads the league in the least amount of turnovers, turning it over 16 times tonight. They continue to struggle shooting it from deep as well, but in a game where the Sixers were without Joel Embiid, they played last night in Houston, traveling over to Chicago, getting in late last night. No excuses. You have to win this one. And I know the Sixers are still a solid team even without Embiid, but for the Bulls, this is a game you have to take that would otherwise be marked as a loss in the schedule. And what a night yet again for Andre Drummond. Didn't have the best game against the Pacers because he found himself in foul trouble, couldn't finish as easily at the rim, but tonight it was back to Drummond doing a little bit of everything out there. And even when they tried to implement the hack of Drummond at the end of the game, didn't faze him. Split the free throws on all of those, and then threw it down with authority in the Sixers' faces with the dagger to put the Bulls up 18 with 2 minutes left. Drummond tonight 15 points, 6 for 8 from the floor, 3 for 10 from the free throw line. Yikes, but 23 rebounds, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. The Sixers without Embiid just did not have an answer for Drummond when it came to boxing him out. The Bulls as a whole out-rebounded the Sixers 53-36. Also helped that the Sixers shot the ball very poorly at 39% while the Bulls shot 50%. The Bulls had 62 points in the paint, one of their highest on the season. I mean, they're a team historically, at least this season anyway, doesn't operate and score that much in the paint. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the league in the paint. But tonight they were pushing the ball inside with no Embiid, which is exactly what you have to do, knowing that guys like Paul Reed and Tobias Harris aren't going to be a threat in protecting the rim. You know, I mentioned this game was a little sloppy on the part of the Bulls in large part because of the turnovers, but you also have to give a lot of credit to the Bulls and their defense, especially on Tyrese Maxey, who shot 8 for 22 tonight, 2 for 8 from 3. The Bulls were all over him and not giving him anything, both in driving to the hoop and from outside. I mean, Maxey is having a career season, and the Bulls did everything in their power to stop him on offense and to force guys like Kelly Oubre or Paul Reed to put up shots, which both of those guys could not get a rhythm going. Like, it won't show up in the stat sheet, but the Bulls were locked in defensively, very few miscues and staying on their man, making the right switches, recovering on help defense, which is why the Sixers shot so poorly because so many of their shots were heavily contested. Oddly enough, on offense, the Bulls' 2 best scorers didn't really shoot the ball particularly well. I'm not saying it was terrible, but for Coby White, 7 for 15, 1 for 5 from 3, finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, but also 5 turnovers. You know, we need to see Coby White get his stroke back because you can tell he's a little more timid in taking those threes. There were multiple times where he had enough separation or his man getting late over on the closeout and he would pump fake and drive to the basket. He had only taken 4 threes in the game. That last one was just a 3 that he threw up after the game was already over in the final seconds. And I get it. I'm sure it can get to you mentally when you're going through a shooting slump and you don't want to just keep throwing up misses and shooting your team out of the game. But Coby's too lethal to not continue to shoot those shots. If he's open, he's got to take those threes. Don't pass it up. Don't try to fake and drive it in traffic. Just shoot it. Those shots will start falling again. And then the other guy that I was going to mention in those top 2 scorers being obviously DeMar DeRozan, who still had a great game overall, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 9 for 17 though, but was a plus 19 on the night. Great job at getting to the line, maneuvering in and out of traffic, finishing at the bucket, not just settling for jump shots, which again, you have to do when Joel Embiid is out of the game. And then for Patrick Williams, you know, sometimes he gets good looks and the shots just don't go down. But what I like seeing is the way he's generating those looks, cutting the basket, moving without the ball, creating his own shot by driving to the hoop, out-muscling his opponent in the paint for the finish. Tonight, he had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He's consistently starting to become more of an option on offense the Bulls can rely upon, which has been huge while the Bulls are without 2 of their top scoring options in Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. Also, Alex Caruso, I mean, his 3-point shooting, I feel, is one of the biggest storylines being overlooked this season because everyone talks about his defense. Everyone talks about what an elite defender he is. We all know that. But man is shooting 45% from 3 on the highest volume of his career on near 4 attempts per game. I mean, you're talking about for a guy who was always talked about not having much of an offensive game, turning into a reliable and consistent 3-and-D player has really taken his ability to the next level, and the Bulls, in turn, seeing success from that. He shot 3 for 5 from deep tonight, which was great. Oh, also, Terry Taylor. Shout out to Taylor, man, who has been stepping up and coming in to play the backup 5 despite being very undersized for that role at 6'4", 6'5". I mean, for a guy who was effectively out of the rotation to come in and give the Bulls really good minutes in a position that he's not used to playing, gives the Bulls 6 points on 3 for 3 from the floor, 6 rebounds and 2 assists, all in 17 minutes of play. Been really impressed by what we've seen from Taylor in giving the Bulls minutes at the 5 off the bench with Vucevic being out and not having it be a situation where the Bulls are just getting hammered in the paint every time Andre Drummond comes out of the game. He's been stepping up, holding his own, and you have to love seeing it from a player who is not otherwise normally going to be getting quality minutes. You know, the Sixers really kept this one close throughout. Always stayed connected with the Bulls really up until the final 4 minutes or so, but the Bulls never let the Sixers lead in this game except in the early going, and always responded well every time the Sixers went on a little run. Said it before, responding, continuing to fight, continuing to stay focused, and with energy has been key for the Bulls in this stretch, and the Bulls are now 10-5 in their last 15 games. Still 4 games below 500, still 10th in the East, but now just 1 game back behind the Nets for 9th. On to the new year now. The Bulls have a few days off until their next game, which will actually be against the Sixers yet again on Tuesday, this time in Philly. I'll have some content out between now and then, but in the meantime, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.